Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports, and today we're looking at 5 things that we learned from the first round of the 2020 Carling Currie Cup. Some big victories, some big individual performances, and a lot of takeaways in terms of what transcended over the past few days and what it means for the rest of the competition as we move in towards the festive season in January, where we're going to be having the Currie Cup. At first, in terms of the time of year that we are having it, and for me, I think it's a really cool addition to have. But yeah, before we look at the 5 things themselves, please do subscribe. Bottom right hand corner there, smash like as well. Jump in the comments and let me know what you think of the Currie Cup and what you think of some of the takeaways that we mentioned, as well as your own takeaways that you've seen so far. Right, so if it wasn't already apparent enough with their dominance in the Super Rugby Unlocked, the Bulls once again laid down the marker really and reaffirmed the fact that they are currently the best side in South Africa, as they beat the Western Province with 14 men for 32 minutes, by the way. They were trailing when Jacques van Rooyen got sent off, and they still managed to turn around the deficit and come away with a victory, which, you know, says a lot about the Western Province, but it also says a lot about the Bulls' capacity to find a victory when the odds are stacked against them, and that ability to win ugly or to win when there's a lot of pressure, when there's a very difficult situation, is paramount if you want to win tournaments. And the Bulls have showcased that they have that in abundance. There have been lots of games where they might not have played particularly well, but they get the result. Once again, down to 14 men, odds are stacked against them. They still managed to find a way to win. And as a result, you cannot begin to argue that they are not fairly heads and shoulders above other sides in the country at the moment. You know, Sharks have got the capacity to beat them. West Province have got the capacity to beat them. Cheetahs have beaten them, and I think it'll be an interesting match when they then play against each other again to have that sort of almost try and right the wrong. But the Bulls just do look like a side where they can win against any side, and that they are very, very difficult to beat. It's that defense. They are relentless on the defense itself. Right, so the Lions got very lucky this weekend and got a victory against the Griquas because of the weather, which forced the game to be called off. Before that, they were trailing for the majority of the game, took the lead, and 4 minutes later, lightning brought the game to a close, and the Lions got a victory as a result. But overall, the Lions still look kind of not necessarily off the pace, but just look very poor, you know, and they're not very clinical, and they're just making some basic errors, which is a lot of red flags, because despite the mass exodus of players they've had, you know, more notably in the last few months, the likes of Malcolm Marx and Tyrone Green, there's still a lot of good players in that union, and they're not playing to their potential, which is why there's a lot of pressure on the coaching staff, because it is quite a relatively inexperienced coaching staff, and it is quite a young Lions side, it must be said. But, you know, the fact that they're in the Pro 16, the fact that Sorry have backed them for once, means that they are under pressure to perform, you know. And with the Cheetahs sitting there saying, listen, we think we're actually within the top 4 and we deserve to be in the Pro 16, this is not a good time for the Lions to not to be playing like this and sort of almost justifying the Cheetahs argument, because yes, they've been the best side for the last sort of 5 years, and you can't argue that. So they deserve it based on that. You know, they've been the most consistent, they've been hands up down the best South African side in the last few years. But you cannot sit there sliding towards where they were when they really did struggle, and they had a couple of good campaigns here and there, but overall they did struggle quite a lot in the preceding years, and it is starting to look a bit sort of like that slide. So they really need to go and prove that they can beat a big side in the likes of the Cheetahs, Bulls, Sharks, or Province, because the only 2 wins they had in the competition so far was Griquas in the Super Rugby Unlocked, and then Griquas again because of the weather. Right, so a lot of talk this weekend was about sort of, can Chris Smith take over from Morné Steyn? Is he a good enough replacement, you know, and is he a long-term option for the Bulls? Well, the answer is yes. If he can play like he did on Saturday, there is no reason why he is not the perfect replacement for Morné Steyn. I was very, very impressed with him. He controlled the game very well. He kicked well. He was quite exciting when he ran with the ball. And he really did sort of put his hand up. And I think, you know, Morné Steyn has been really, really good in the last couple of games, and in the competition, proving that he still has a lot to offer. But it will inevitably be in the back of Jake White's mind that he is on a limited sort of time span when it comes to Morné Steyn, and that he will be moving on eventually, and there needs to be a succession plan. But if Chris Smith keeps playing like he did, then that's your succession plan right there, and that'll be a massive boost in that they don't have to go and look somewhere else for a fly half or something like that. They've got a very good replacement in Chris Smith, who is ready and waiting to take over the reins from Morné Steyn. Something that might seem very obvious, but it looks like Spiron Corsi is fit and he has to start for the Sharks. Came on and changed the game against the Pumas. What an impact sub, he got that. It was so crucial to that Griquas win a couple of weeks ago as well. I can't speak highly enough of Spiron Corsi. He's got everything. He's athletic, he's fast, he's brilliant in the air, fantastic in the air. The pressure he has in the kick chase is second to none really in World Rugby at the moment. And he came on and added a lot of impetus to the Sharks side. And I don't know why, but he kind of looked like he had something to prove, which is bizarre for somebody who is part of the World Cup winning squad. But he is a class act, and he really, if the Sharks want to succeed, they need to give him as much playing time as possible. Yes, manage the injury, manage his condition, but he needs to be playing as much rugby as possible because he is probably the Sharks' best player in the squad right now, and he needs to be given a lot of ball and a lot of opportunity to go and demonstrate that, because he will be vital to any Currie Cup charge the Sharks have. Right, so whilst the Western Province and the Stormers were up there for Super Rugby Unlocked, they had some pretty poor performances, and this weekend will once again highlight that a squad with such an abundance of talent is still underperforming. It is criminal that a squad that had the likes of, in Springboks, Stephen Kitsoff, Frans Malherbe, Skara Intabeni, Bonga Mbanambi, Sia Khaleesi, Damian Willemse, Herschel Yankees, Ruan Nel, Warwick Gelant, all capped Springboks, and they couldn't beat a 14-man Bull side. That is huge, especially when you think that even along the side of those players, you've got the likes of Joao Augustus, who will be a future Springbok, Sam Murat, who will be a future Springbok. It's a very, very talented Western Province side, and they're not expressing themselves particularly well or giving themselves a very good account of themselves. Once again, the Damian Willemse argument has crept up because he's once again struggled. But, people have always said that the coaching staff are the reason why the Western Province and the Stormers have struggled over the past few years. The fact that Alistair Coetzee could only take them so far, and the fact that John Dobson hasn't been able to turn the side around and get them firing on all cylinders. And once again, if there are performances like this weekend, that pressure will continue to mount. And I think that, if they don't start turning around, if they're not really competitive in the Currie Cup, they will have to sit there going, maybe we need to look at something else. Because what was supposed to be, Eddie Jones coming in, transforming the union, it doesn't quite look like a union that's been transformed yet. And there's still so many good players that should be playing better and just aren't. And what hasn't helped is that Warwick Gelant has actually been ruled out for the rest of the season and borderline the British and Irish Lions tour. He looks like he's out for 9 months, which is massive because he's been playing such nice rugby. I'm such a big fan of him, and I think he's a wonderful player, and he just looked so good over the last few weeks, and it's really, really upsetting that I don't know what is it with fullbacks, but we've lost Gira App long-term injury, Gianni Lombard a long-term injury, as well as Warwick Gelant now in a long-term injury. But those are the 5 things that we took away. What did you take away? Let me know what you thought of the weekend below in the comments. Do subscribe, do smash a like, and I'll chat to you very, very soon.